Hello, my name is Heather Carrera, and I'm going to be talking to you today about loving your heart because it's February and it is National Heart Health Month. So when it comes to heart health or vascular health, usually three main problems come to mind. You either have hyperlipidemia, which is high cholesterol, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, or high triglycerides, which are fatty molecules in your blood. So usually high blood pressure or hypertension is what comes first. That's usually the earliest indicator of overall vascular health issues. So we're going to be talking today a lot about how to prevent hypertension and treat hypertension with diet and supplements. So it's important to know that all of these are not diseases. We view them as diseases that need to be treated with medication. But the reality is that these are all normal responses by our body against damage that's occurring to the blood vessels. So it's actually a healthy response. The body is protecting itself against something. Now, what is that something it's protecting itself against? So anything that contributes to inflammation in the blood vessels is going to be the reason that the body is producing extra cholesterol, extra triglycerides, or high blood pressure. Things that include inflammation are smoking, any physical inactivity, so sedentary lifestyle, either sitting at a desk all day or lack of activity, being overweight, and eating a poor diet. So a poor diet that contributes to inflammation usually has a lot of excess sugar, caffeine, alcohol, and too much red meat. And the red meat quality is a big part of this. So it's probably conventionally raised, not grass-fed or organic red meat. Insulin resistance and high blood sugar is a major source of inflammation because sugar is inflammatory and it's very damaging to the blood vessels. 95% of people diagnosed with essential hypertension are usually, the responsible factor is usually diet, obesity, inactivity, stress, and or alcohol consumption. So in other words, it's mostly preventable in 95% of people. So what is hypertension? Normal levels of blood pressure are below 120/80. The new guidelines actually recommend being well below 120/80, and starting at 110/70, you can even see cardiovascular risk start to increase. So the next time you get your blood pressure done, if it's 120/80, you might want to think about taking steps to get it a little bit lower. What is considered high cholesterol? Total cholesterol should always be below 200. HDL, that's your good cholesterol. It actually takes cholesterol away to be excreted. That's supposed to be between 40 and 59, but ideally the biggest benefit to your health is when it's above 60. LDL, or the bad cholesterol, should be between 100 and 129, but ideally you want it to be below 100. And triglycerides should be between 101 and 150, but ideally you'd want that to be less than 100 as well. So in order to get blood pressure down, you need to remove whatever the insult is, whatever that inflammatory process is contributing to damage in the blood vessels. So quitting smoking is one of the most effective strategies to lower blood pressure. Participating in exercise is another, and it's interesting to note that 3 to 4 days per week for 1 hour of exercise, so that's 3 to 4 hours of exercise a week, is the equivalent of being on one blood pressure medication. So if you can participate in exercise most days of the week for at least 1 hour, that's equivalent to you taking a blood pressure lowering medication. Eating a low glycemic anti-inflammatory diet, that means whole grains, fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, and avoiding simple refined carbohydrates like white pasta, pastries, cakes, and sugars. Controlling blood sugar. So most people think that if you have high cholesterol, you must be eating a high cholesterol diet, and that has been proven false. It's actually due to eating excess sugars and carbohydrates that causes lipids in the blood to increase. A weight loss of just 9 to 11 pounds in obese individuals and non-obese individuals significantly lowers blood pressure. So people don't have to lose excessive amounts of weight. A small amount has a large effect. And that's because fat cells actually secrete inflammatory hormones. So we used to think that fat cells were just sitting there not really contributing to anything. But we now know that they are active and they secrete hormones and they secrete inflammatory compounds that actually increase blood pressure and cause and contribute to inflammation. Adding in specific therapeutic foods can be very helpful when you have high blood pressure. Omega-3 fatty acids, which only come from fish. So you can get certain omega-3s from flaxseed and chia seed, but DHA and EPA are only found in fish, specifically oily fish like salmon. You can also take a supplement. Resveratrol, so that's found in red wine, purple and red grapes, and peanuts. Quercetin, really high in onions, also found in berries, kale, apples, capers, and spinach. EGCG is an anti-inflammatory compound, an antioxidant found in green tea. Dark chocolate with 70% or higher cacao content. Genistein, which is found in organic soy. And selenium. You can get enough selenium for the day with just 2 to 3 Brazil nuts. You also want to avoid certain foods that contribute to hypertension and inflammation in the blood vessels. MSG is a very common food additive. It's a flavor enhancer, and it's also been found to damage blood vessels, increase inflammation, increase LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, and increase platelet stickiness. So that's something that we don't want. We don't want the platelets to be sticky because when they stick together, they can form clots in the arteries, and that actually increases blood pressure by reducing the diameter of the blood vessel itself. Any added sugar, which is inflammatory, contributes to increased inflammation. Added sugar are any sugars that do not come from fruit or dairy. So salt does not need to be avoided by all people, but certain salt-sensitive individuals should keep their eye on their salt intake. Individuals over age 50, African Americans, and anybody who has familial hypertension, which is 51% of people in total, those people need to limit their salt intake, and they would probably benefit from increasing their potassium intake as well. Avocados, spinach, and sweet potato are all high in potassium. Alcohol can have a blood pressure lowering effect, but drinking outside of a meal has a more significant elevating effect on blood pressure than with a meal. So if you choose to drink, make sure you eat with the drink. There are certain supplements that can also be used in place of medications or to support medications. And I'll say that you should always do this with the support and guidance of your doctor. Never go off of any medication on your own. So the best supplements for lowering blood pressure, magnesium is a great vasodilator, meaning that it's going to dilate or make bigger your blood vessels, which will naturally decrease your blood pressure. It's also a natural calcium channel blocker. One of the common blood pressure lowering medications is a calcium channel blocker. So being on a magnesium supplement can sometimes mimic or enhance the effect of those medications. Omega-3 fats from fish oil lower blood pressure. Vitamin K2. Vitamin C also improves blood vessel function. Vitamin D. Vitamin B6. CoQ10, which should be on everybody's radar who is on a statin. Anybody who's on a cholesterol lowering medication, a statin, should be on CoQ10 because the statins naturally lower your CoQ10 levels. And alpha lipoic acid, which is especially useful for diabetics. Foods include olive oil, fish oil, garlic, seaweed, dark chocolate, and cacao, lycopene from tomatoes and papaya, pomegranate juice, and sesame seeds. Here I have a chart listing the common medications for lowering blood pressure. which foods help mimic the effects of these medications, the supplements that support these medications, and the nutrients that you may need more of, because certain medications do cause nutrient deficiencies. So anyone on a diuretic, eating plenty of protein, hawthorn tea, celery, fiber, and dandelion greens can help mimic the effect of a diuretic, possibly leading you to not need the medication or to need a lower dose. B6, vitamin C, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and CoQ10 are all supplements that can do the same thing. And you may need additional potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, sodium, chloride, folate, B6, zinc, iodine, and CoQ10. Hawthorn is also a great beta blocker. I highly suggest anybody with cardiovascular issues invest in some hawthorn tea. You can drink it every day. It's very pleasant tasting, and it really has a great blood pressure lowering effect. ACE inhibitors, stock up on protein, garlic, seaweed, omega-3 from flax and chia, and also fish, hawthorn tea again, egg yolk, and pomegranate. So I won't list off everything in the list, but as you can see, there are many foods that help either mimic or help the medication do their job better, causing you to not need them or possibly needing a lower dose. I do want to note at the very bottom here to avoid any licorice, caffeine, ginseng, ephedra if you have high blood pressure. All of those things cause your blood pressure to increase further. We can't talk about lowering blood pressure without talking about stress and relaxation. Many people have a lot of stress in their lives, and that can contribute to high blood pressure. Practicing a daily relaxation technique such as meditation, deep breathing, yoga, or progressive muscle relaxation are all great. Any kind of stress management techniques that work for you. It could be a weekly massage, acupuncture, visiting a float tank, or even just deep breathing. There's a technique called 4-7-8 breathing, where you breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold your breath for 7 counts, and breathe out for 8 counts. If you do that 3 times in a row, it automatically lowers blood pressure and makes you feel more calm. There are certain herbs called nervine botanicals that quite literally affect your nerves in a positive way. Valerian and chamomile are 2 that I've found in stores like Wegmans pretty easily. And if you drink these throughout the day, they will help you deal with stress better. If you've done all of these things and you're still having issues, there may be a genetic reason, and certain people that have familial hypertension may have this genetic mutation. It's called MTHFR. It's fairly common in the population. And if you do have it, then you may not be able to utilize folic acid, the vitamin, one of the B vitamins. And you might need a special type of folate to reduce your cardiovascular risk. Most fortified products contain folic acid, and people with a MTHFR polymorphism are not able to use that, and it actually makes their blood pressure higher. You may also need a B12 supplement. So homocysteine is a molecule that your doctor can test for, and if it is high in your blood, that actually indicates an increased risk for cardiovascular disease, and it's linked to this MTHFR mutation. It indicates inflammation is going on in the body as well, and it increases your risk for heart disease and stroke. If you have elevated homocysteine, you might need to look into MTHFR, and you may have an increased need for certain foods like dark leafy greens, sunflower seeds, wheat germ, fish, eggs, beans, and you may need to decrease your animal proteins, sugar, and saturated fat intake. Thank you for listening. I hope you got a lot of the presentation. If you have any questions for me, please email me at carrera@geneseo.edu. My office is located in Blake A 202, and I'm open to getting feedback on future topics for presentations. Thank you.